Hey, well, welcome back to Allison Customs Project Car TV. As always, thank you for joining me. What I have for you today is day 5 of the International Scout Rust Repair. Pretty much we're just talking about the whole driver's side, so we're into day 5. So what we have left from day 4 is to finish welding up this plate on the front rocker, the outer rocker, but the part that's under the fender. And then a little bit more blending here with the quarter panel. Really need to be able to get inside here with a hammer and hammer and dolly this back out a little bit, so we'll see what we can do there. And then obviously the big part of what's left is what are we going to do with this quarter panel. And what I want is to have a defined lip that had been pretty much just Bondo blended away the last time this was repaired, or hidden, because we can see it wasn't really repaired. And what I've come up with is this. This is cheap. It's $44. And this is off of a 96 Ford pickup F-150 and the Bronco. But for me to hold it up there and stay out of your way. But when we look at it, this side curves pretty close to what I actually had already designed, so that's honest to goodness just by chance, because this just showed up yesterday. In the back here you can see it changes the shape quite a bit, and then it's got a big flat spot here, and it's wider front to back than what we need. When I was looking at these panels, I was looking at pictures and it looked more round than it actually is. What I like about it is there is a big, I'm going to call it an eyebrow, that would stick out here, which means we would cover the tires a little better than the original Scout does when we go to a bigger tire. So my plan is, and this piece is for the other side of the truck. This is a right-hand side, and I ordered 2 of these so I could do 2 fenders, or a quarter panel and a fender on the other side. And I ordered one this size for the front fender on this, and then I ordered the big one because I wanted the gas door. In case I decide I want to get rid of the exposed gas cap, I have a gas door frame that I could weld into the quarter panel, and then just buy a Ford 95, 96, 97 Ford gas door and the parts behind it, which are in the junkyards. They're also available online. And I could have a gas door that I just weld into the quarter panel. This panel kind of up on here, you can see that this curve follows pretty close to what I wanted. I get the eyebrow that I'd like to have, and yes, you could make this, but it's a lot of shrinking and stretching to get this eyebrow to fit in here, and you really need that deep throat shrinker stretcher, which I don't have. So it would be a whole lot of work to try and get this done with the tools I have here. I'm not saying it can't be done, I'm just saying it's many, many hours, and when this full panel is $40, it would cost me that much in sheet metal just to make it, maybe half that anyway in sheet metal, and it would take me hours upon hours, so the other $20 is not worth the effort. Obviously the back here doesn't line up, but we have this flat spot here, and what I'm thinking I can do is come in and section about this distance out of here, bring these together, continue to have the eyebrow, but now with a more round shape to it. I'll trim the eyebrow, kind of blends into the quarter panel about right here, so I will trim the sheet metal across here and cut it down so that it's not into my door. And then the same thing back here, I'll cut it, leaving me enough room to reuse the gas door section, whether I use it on this project or something else. That's always an option. And then cut it down here above this body line so that it can all be blended in to the quarter panel. I get a new lip, so I can then probably take out sheet metal from over here somewhere up, over, and back down, maybe as high as right in this area, and have plenty of sheet metal to redo the whole quarter panel. And if I'm wrong, I'm out $44 and whatever time it takes me to try and blend that in. If it works, I've bought this panel for this side, and then the shorter panel I was showing you that I bought for the other side, I also have one of those so that I can do the front fender and do the whole blend up there as well. So that's my kind of projects for today. We're going to finish this front rocker panel and get this blended in, and then I need to weld the rocker to the floor on the inside of the cab. And I was kind of talking, I'm thinking I'm going to go ahead and replace a section of the floor in there that's got some surface rust in it that's pretty pitted. I think I could clean it up, but I'm right here and it's a matter of a piece of metal 3 inches wide by 18 inches long and then a weld. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and replace that metal and be done with it. The rust will be gone and I won't have any of this to deal with again 5, 10, 20 years from now. Okay, I think that's about the middle, and what I'm thinking is I'll come in about 1/4 of an inch over here and 1/4 inch on this side and cut it, and then we'll wait until we start to overlap and then do one final cut through both pieces to put the piece in to the truck. So let's take this down, get these two cut out, and then there's a body line right here that needs to go away, so I'll just run a line across there and go ahead and get that piece cut off, and then we can start taking some more Bondo out of this quarter panel and see where we get to. Okay, so I basically just ended up cutting the panel in half rather than taking the section out already. And I think with this up in there, this is going to be, we need to do just a little bit of work on this, but I think that curve is going to kind of tie in with what we already started and look good there. And then when we get that in place, we can just overlap them until we have that finished. And then we'll cut straight up between the two panels and have a nice seam that matches that we can weld to. So I think the next trick really is we got to get the rest of this Bondo out and see what kind of metal's behind there. Alright guys, well there we go. I think we have the beginnings of a nice shape. I think I've let this panel droop just a hair, so we'll kind of twist it up a little bit. And then this body line and this eyebrow that kicks out, they all end right in here. And we've got a little bit of a lip where this panel is sticking that way a little too far. So probably by the time we twist a little bit, and we can pull it back this way, maybe 1/4 of an inch, and twist it up just a hair. Then we'll just do whatever body work in here, just cut the metal and seam it into, match it into our panel that we already made. And then in the back, I think the panel needs to go up just a little bit, maybe 1/8 of an inch. And of course, we'll have to adapt to whatever we do to this panel. And then we've got pretty good metal back in here. And rather than keep busting out and grinding away on all this other Bondo that's behind this panel, we just need to do a nice line across here and down this side to get to fresh metal. And it looks like up this high, we've got good original metal. So we've got a little bit of Bondo over here that'll have to come out when we do the blend. And there's a little bit in this panel back here, but very little, very little. There is some in this, but there's also a big dent down here that's got to be repaired. So we'll kind of work all this in one shot. But I think at this point we can go ahead and pull these panels off. We've marked the edges here, finished grinding out the Bondo that's in there, so we're down to metal. And then we can do one more test fit with this and make our adjustments, and then go ahead and start cutting and getting this panel fitted in. I was about to start cutting and doing some stuff, and I decided, well, you know, I'm going to throw a tire up there and get a pretty good idea of what that's going to look like. And it looked really pinched in. Part of the hope of this eyebrow was to make the wheel well look a little bigger, and it really just didn't. So I played with it, and originally I had about 5 inches of overlap that was going to be taken out, and now I'm down to about 1 inch, which means we're using most of that 96 Ford opening. And what I've got is this curve comes down, and then I just laid up a piece of metal, like a flexible piece of metal here, to see if I could get back down to here in a nice comfortable curve. Same thing here. So we're going to be modifying the panel I made, which is fine. I mean, that's part of customizing your vehicle. I really like the lip, the kick out here. You look at it from the side or the front, it just looks like it should have been there from the beginning. And I think now the opening will be large enough that this tire is probably still a little higher into the wheel well than it would be. But if I, this is 31, so if I decided to change and go up to a 33, I think it would still be a nice opening. 35s, we're probably stretching it again, and we would be really tight, but no tighter than 31 was going to be on the original opening. So I think really ideally the 33 would be the perfect tire. Too bad I've already bought 5 31s, and that's what we're going to be running. But I think I've played with the height and the width and getting the panels twisted, I guess. And I think I'm finally happy with what I have here. And somewhere in here I'll cut this panel, and we'll cut into the quarter panel as we do that. And that'll give us a nice clean line. And then we can come in here and cut this opening out so that this will sit. Right now this is up about 3/4 of an inch because of the lip. That'll let it sit back in. Same on this side. So that's the process now. Okay, so move forward just a little bit. I went ahead and cut this piece of the wheel well off of the rear flange here, the rear well here. And I don't really need the extra room. I just need to open it up so that we don't have something in the way when you're looking at the truck. You'll see the fender well opening, not some piece of metal down here. And then I went ahead and cleaned up the inside of all this area with wire wheel, and then I've sprayed it with a rust inhibitor primer. This is the piece that came off of here. So what I've done also is I made a flange that I can weld to the inside panel, and then I can weld this piece this of the fender well to it. And then with this cut loose, I'll just bend it up and make it follow that same shape. And then I just need to weld up this corner where the interior panel meets the wheel well. After all that's done, then we'll make a new piece like this, and I'll probably just make it in halves because I need to make a flange that goes around the outside, and I need to make a flat piece that makes the face of this, and then I need to put a L on that as we go around. Well, because we need this flat area to drop back down to the wheel lip, one of the things that we're going to have is a flange on top to weld to this and a flange on the bottom to weld to the wheel lip. And that's going to mean we can't just make this in one piece, because we would need to shrink this face, and I can't do that with the shrinker stretcher I have. I've come back to that a couple times on this project. So we're going to make it in 3 pieces. We're going to make the upper flange, which matches this. We're going to make the face of it, and then we'll make a flange on the bottom that we can weld, and there'll just be 2 seams welded in there. So I'm going to get this done, get the rest of that primed, get this corner welded up, and then we'll start making our new wheel well. On this side, I also, just where this piece of inner metal that I had in there, it's actually good. I mean, we knew we were going to have to open this up anyway to get the rust out of here, but it's good we've got it done, because that flange, this piece of metal here, was standing out, so it would have been a great place for debris to collect, create rust. So we'll get that welded up as well, and then that'll all be good and sealed up, and then we're going to end up reshaping this corner a little bit more just to line up with our wheel well. So the pattern we made earlier for this piece will get adjusted so that when we make the other side, we can just make it in one piece rather than cutting it up and doing it a second time. And then you can see roughly what we're doing here, and then that'll tuck up in there so that we'll just have a short, some places the face of this will be nothing, and it'll just be a lip that extends out, but that'll give us a weldable surface. And once that's made, then we can weld these panels in. I've taken them and put them in the English wheel and added just a little bit of curvature on this upper area to kind of catch what's coming off of this body line. And then right about where we're welding in down here, it's starting to roll over again. So I tried rolling a little bit there, but there's not a lot I can do because of the body line and everything. So that'll just have to get worked on both sides with a hammer and dolly as we put it together. Hey, well, we're back with morning day 6, and day 5 went really well, but I burned up probably 4 hours just trying to figure out how I wanted these panels to fit. And in the end, out of that big panel that I said it's just too big, it's not going to work. Not sure whether I said that on camera or not, but that was what was in my mind, is it was just so wide. And we talked about how we would cut out a section. Well, at one point I was going to cut out over 5 inches. And what I ended up cutting out is about not even 3/4 of an inch. It's probably a 1/2 inch up here and 5/8 down here, which came out of this area. So that, when you count the slice on each side, the thickness of the blade, which is like, I think, a 1/16 of an inch, we'll duplicate that for the other side. So you always want to save that piece that you cut out, and then remember, you cut it twice, so don't just kind of estimate and figure you can cut once, and you got to add all this stuff together. Anyway, if you're trying to get an exact duplicate. So this half of this quarter is done. We've got the inner lip done. We've got everything ties in. The panel needs to pull out just a hair, but then it's got about the right curvature to match the original Scout. And that was just English wheel work up here. Drives me crazy because yesterday when I was running through the English wheel, I just wasn't paying enough attention. I ran the English wheel into this lip, and I thought in the evening last night that I had gotten it straightened back out, but it's terrible. So I need to work on this area where I changed the radius here. I'm gonna have to work on that a little bit more. We'll get it back together to where a very thin coat of filler at most will be all it needs to bring the shape back to the way it was. I was so frustrated initially. I was like, I'll just buy another panel. Like, that's just a waste. You can Cleco panel clips off. You see we've built the lip, and then the lip that everything's going to weld to, so we'll do a little bit of cleanup on these welds, prime this, and then I've got some spray-on bed liner that is the same brand as the product we're going to be using underneath the truck, but we'll go ahead and spray these seams just to make sure everything's sealed up and protected. So what we have now is we need to do the same process for the forward half, and the reason that panel is ready to weld in, the reason I'm not welding all this stuff in is because I need to be able to get in here. So if this panel's here, you got nowhere to reach down and draw forms or whatever. So just leave it out, stick your other panel up, you can get your arm back there and get most of the shapes that you need. And we can finish this cleanup on this side, and then we'll weld them in together. And this one hasn't been to the English wheel yet, so it's a little too straight in here, so we need to put just a little bit of curvature in this top couple inches. But you can get a pretty good idea of what it's going to look like here, because that's where it'll sit. So we just need to build the last 2 pieces of the inner structure to it, and then clean all that up and weld this in. So we probably have about an hour's worth of work, and then we'll be ready to finish up this quarter panel. So with that pattern in there, we're going to cut this upper line. And I think we're going to want to extend this down just about another inch to inch and a half. That fits in there nice now. And like I said, I think we're going to want to extend this down where these 2 points would come together. So we'll just kind of freehand that on a piece of metal. And then this lower arch, we'll go ahead and cut that on the metal, but we know it's going to have to come up just a hair to get it to all line up with the inside lip of our quarter panel. So let me go make this. Needed to be said. All right, so we've got this piece made. I have test fitted about 3 times already, just trimming up and cleaning up little edges just to make everything match as well as possible. So we'll get this on, then we'll refit the quarter panel sheet, the skin, and then we'll go ahead and measure and make the lip that goes around the outside, and then we can wire brush this, clean it all up, get it primed and sealed. So let's get this welded in. So now we just need to measure. Well, we need to remark. You can see how we have that lip comes down. And this is where I added some material, so I added too much. No problem there. Just take that. Back off. Okay, so you've been watching me get all this tacked in, and what I need to do now is switch welders. The welder I've been using has got 35 wire in it, which is really just too big a wire for this. You got to get enough heat in there. So it does fine when you're tacking, but trying to weld the 2 pieces of sheet metal together with a butt weld is just not going to work very well. I'm going to switch welders, and my other welder has .023 wire in it, which lets me turn the heat down, and I should be able to then start welding up this finish. Now, as I understand it, International galvanized the inside, possibly the outside, but there's been so much body work we'll never know. But they galvanized their sheet metal. So you really want to make sure you've got a good clean area when you're welding. I've always been told that if you're going to be welding galvanized metal, drink lots of milk. I'll also put on a respirator underneath my hood to try and keep any fumes down. The milk, I think, just attaches to some of the chemical and gets it out of your system. I don't know if it's an old wives' tale or what, but that was always what I was told by both my father-in-law and my grandfather, who welded for 40 plus years each, and would always talk about they'd have to drink a lot of milk when they were working on galvanized. So anyway, so then you'll see we need to doctor up the curve here a little bit, and the same back here. We'll kind of doctor that a little bit. I've kind of sketched them in where I think I'm going to go with it, but overall I think we have a really good shape. And just We got that nice eyebrow now, so there'll be some shape to the side of the body when you look down it. Should make for a really nice looking and mild modification to the International body. So we work on getting some of this welded up. We'll just weld small areas at a time until we've got pretty good coverage, and then I'll come, between times I'll come in and start doing my reshaping on the lower part of the quarter panels here until we have everything finished up. Well, good morning. Yesterday we got all this tacked in, and I started getting some welds in, and there's about, if you add it all up, there's about 6 feet of welds to make on this sheet metal, and that's going to take quite a bit of time because we don't want to put too much heat into any of this metal and start getting warpage. So I welded what you see here yesterday over a period of time, and then I'll grind it off and continue my welds. The rest of this process, like I said, is just welding, so I'm not going to film much of that. Can't really see that anybody's going to be interested in watching me put thousands of tack welds on these panels. But after this, we need to do the front fender, and that'll be, we're coming up on Thanksgiving at the time I'm filming this, so that'll be after Thanksgiving. And as we approach the holiday season here, my other job gets pretty busy with stuff I have to take care of for that. So while I might get some days out here working and get some filming done, I don't get a lot of time to do any editing. So this will probably be our last video for the year, and that's kind of typical of every year. And then we'll get back with it after the first of the year. So we may get 1 or 2 small short videos out, but it'll be just quick little easy stuff. So I do want to thank y'all for watching. I want to thank everybody for subscribing and continuing to support the channel. It's been great. Things you can look forward to going into next year will be the work on the front fender, all this stuff welded up. We'll get some body work done, and finally get this truck started to go back together. So, all that's coming. It's just, like I've been calling this project since the beginning, Project Creep. It has just kind of taken on a life of its own, and I let it because I say, oh, I'm not going to fix that, or I'll worry about that at a later date, and then I get there and I'm like, well, I'm right here. May as well just go ahead and fix it now. So we've kind of been headed that direction. Other things that we've got to get back to, I got to get back to my C20 project. That kind of just went to the wayside as we saw the whole coronavirus stuff come on, and this truck, I was wanting to get it out and drive it this summer, and I thought I would have this done way back in July or August, and obviously that didn't happen. So this one has just been eating up hours upon hours in rust repair, but we're finally mostly past that. We're to the point I'm making modifications that I hadn't expected or planned to do back in April and May when I started this. So we will be getting back on the C20 early next year. It's starting to cool off here pretty good, so getting out here into the shop this winter gets a little tight, trying to keep everything warmed up enough you can actually get some work done. But we'll get some good days and get a chance to do some of it. And then as this is finished up and the C20 gets worked on, then we can finally get back to our Mustang, the 68, that full suspension, everything that we've done over there. And I've got some other projects lined up that I want to share with you guys. So please let your friends know, let family know, watch the channel, and look for some new videos. This one you probably won't see till early December, so watch for some new ones next month coming into January. And finally, hey, I do send out some picture updates, photo updates on Instagram, and you can find that at AC_PCTV, and that's on Instagram. And then on Facebook, it's Allison Customs. So look for those, like and subscribe on the channel, go over and like me on Instagram and Facebook, and keep up to date with us. And I want to thank everybody for a great 2020. But stay safe out there, have some great holidays, enjoy your family, and I'll see you again in January.